the video actually was all about uh, what we are experiencing nowadays, especially here in the Philippines, wherein water pollution is very much uh, eminent. No? Makikita natin to saan? Sa TV, sa ating community, saan pa? This is because of our dependence on the single-use plastics. No, we are in the so-called single-use plastic economy because karamihan ng families dito sa Philippines cannot afford na mag-grocery ng isahan lang. For example, uh, mag-grocery ng by bulk. No? Eh, ang kaya lang naman ng ordinary family is bumili ng tingi. Kaya isa sa mga sources ng pollution natin is yung ating basura when we use single-use plastics. Ano itong mga single-use plastics natin? Ito yung mga sachets, yung na sachet na kape, sachet na lahat. So, this afternoon, we will discuss all about uh, water pollution and its effects in our environment and we can what we can do in order to mitigate or in order to uh, prevent this in our own. So, first, let us define what is water pollution. Water pollution occurs when harmful substances often chemicals or microorganisms, contaminate a stream, river, lake, or ocean, aquifer, or other bodies of water, degrading water quality and rendering it toxic to humans or the environment. Sa ibang definitions, it is any addition or any introduction of or any modification of the physical, chemical, and biological properties of water that will have a detrimental consequences on living things. This is called water pollution. So, anything na ina-add mo doon para mabago yung uh, para mabago anything na ina-add mo sa isang body of water para mabago yung properties niya or like for example uh, chemicals or yung ating heavy metals from industries, yung ating yung chemicals from pesticides sa ating agriculture industries, no? Nagli-leak sa ating water bodies of water, no? Na-add siya dun sa na-alter yung chemical properties ng tubig or nadadagdagan yung mga chemicals sa present dun sa tubig. We can consider it as pollution. So ano pa bang iba? Dun sa definition, hindi lang sa chemical but also the physical and the biological properties of water na alter. For example, sa tubig natin sa nawas or sa gripo, may mga present na bacteria na dyan na nandun na siya actually, nandyan na siya. Pero, paano yun ma-alter? Yung dumaragdag siya because of, of external factors. For example, uh, malapit sa yung source of water is malapit sa isang septic tank, no? So, anong possible na scenarios na pwedeng mangyari. So, pwedeng makontaminate yung source of water, pwedeng makontaminate ng mga pathogenic bacteria or yung ating mga pathogens which carries diseases, makakontaminate yung tubig natin for water use. So, maging toxic siya hindi magiging toxic siya hindi lang sa tao, kundi pati sa mga ibang organisms na nangangailangan ng tubig din. So, bakit natin kailangang pag-aralan to? Since uh, yung properties ng water natin, meron tayong tatlo na nabanggit sa definition. We have the physical, the chemical, and the biological properties. Sa physical properties ng water, dito nakakapaloob yung temperature, yung kung gaano kainit or gaano kalamig yung tubig. For example, sa ocean, nakaka-apekto to balikan natin yung water cycle, di ba? Kapag masyadong mainit yung tubig, mas lalong magiging malakas yung resulting na bagyo, di ba? Or pag masyadong malamig naman, hindi kakayanin ng ibang organisms na pwedeng naninirahan sa isang sabihin natin medyo warmer na tubig. Hindi sila makakapag-survive doon. So, itong water movement This is the consists of yung paggalaw ng tubig. For example, yung ocean currents natin, no? Kaya baga yung mga basura na itatapon natin sa dagat, minsan nahahanap natin siya minsan sa gitna na ng oceans, minsan uh, napupunta na sa ibang lugar. This is because of the movement of water na yung ocean currents. Yung currents natin, yung movements from medyo maingay nasa tabing kalsada kasi ako, sorry. So, ito yung sa movement. Yung turbidity is yung clearness ng water, surface tension, how the water holds itself together, how water molecules holds themselves together, and the ability to dissolve other substances. That is why water baga is considered as the universal solvent because it can dissolve almost all other substances. No? Yung chemical properties naman, dito nakapaloob yung ating dissolved oxygen. Balikan natin yung sa aquatic ecosystems na yung aquatic organisms acquire oxygen from the dissolved oxygen present in their ecosystem. So, dun yun pumapasok sa kanilang gill system para nila ma-intake. So, ano pa ba? Yung nutrients natin, yung nitrates, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfates natin na present, alkalinity or yung presence ng ating alkaline earth metals na present dun sa tubig, yung hardness, pag sinasabing water hardness is yung presence ng magnesium and calcium dun sa tubig. So, masasabi nating hard water ang isang tubig. For example, yung tap water nyo, kapag masyado marami yung concentration ng magnesium and calcium na present doon, so we can consider your tap water as hard water. Yung soft water naman is konti yung concentrations ng specific na dalawang elements na to. So, yung presence ng heavy metals like cobalt, iron, ano pa ba yung mga heavy metals natin? Yung iron, cobalt, yung iba pang mga metal elements na present sa tubig. Tapos, yung pH or yung acidity and basicity ng tubig. So, some organisms can live in acidic waters for example, sa mga tubig kung saan malapit sa isang volcanic area, no? Acidic ang tubig doon is medyo acidic in nature. Tapos sa ating mga natural springs like sa rivers, sa freshwater sources natin or freshwater ecosystems, doon naman present yung medyo basic yung tawag sa yung property ng tubig doon. So may mga certain organisms lang na kayang makapag mamuhay sa ganitong klase ng pH niya. So lastly is yung ating biological properties or yung presence ng plants, bacteria, and other microorganisms dun sa tubig. So, any addition or any change in those things, we can call them water pollution. So, anything that can alter the chemical, biological, or physical properties of the source of water or any aquatic ecosystem is called water pollution. So, there are several types of water pollution. We have the chemical pollution, which is defined as, wait, sorry. So chemical pollution in water is the most common type of water pollution. Chemicals can infiltrate both underground water sources and those sitting on the Earth's surface. As an integral component of agriculture industry, it is unsurprising that much of chemical contamination comes from pesticides and fungicides used in farming, but metals and solvents from industrial sites are also leading contributors. So, usually, ang nakakapag-contribute ng chemical pollution, so sa overview baga ng ating water pollution, land pollution and water pollution goes hand in hand, no? Kasi yung for example sa ating agricultural industries, gumagamit ng pesticides, ng fertilizers, ng herbicides and other chemicals to prevent pests and insects infestation, or mas marami yung mas dumapo, for example, artificial fertilizer yung gamit, mas marami yung yield na kailangan. So nagre-resort yung farmers or yung ating agricultural industry into artificial use of fertilizers para mas marami yung yield. So, yung consequence nito is kapag nasobrahan yung gamit or yung hindi na absorb ng plant na chemicals is nagpe-penetrate dun sa soil to our underground uh, water resources, yung mga tubig natin sa ilalim ng lupa, kung saan kumukuha tayo ng yung tubig galing sa ating mga poso, yung tubig galing sa ating mga palon, dito galing. So, nakakontaminate yun kasi nagpe-percolate yung chemicals na yun papunta sa ating underground water resources. No? Kung hindi naman siya mag-percolate sa ilalim, is mara-run off siya. No? Pag umulan, mara-run off yung chemicals na yun papunta sa mga near bodies of water like papunta sa irrigation system, papunta sa streams, sa rivers, and eventually it all it will all lead to the oceans. No? So anong consequences nito? Since may chemicals involved, for example, sa fertilizers, meron tayong nutrients doon. We all know that excess of nutrients will lead to algal bloom and eutrophication, yung sa lesson natin before. So, ito yung mga consequences ng chemical pollution. So, ano pa bang iba? Doon sa definition, nagsabi doon na galing din sa mga sa metal industries, no? Sa mining industries. No? For example, sa mga small scale mining kasi gumagamit ng mercury para i-extract yung gold ores. And then yung tailings na yun is napupunta tinatapon nila yung excess na mercury na hindi nagamit sa amalgamation, nilalagay nila sa isang tailings, then magli-leak yun. Eventually, after some time, magli-leak yun. So, ito yung mga examples ng chemical pollution sa tubig. So, next is thermal pollution. 10 minutes na naman. Di pa, 3 minutes pa lang pala. So, thermal pollution. Heat is considered to be water pollutant because it decreases the capacity of water to hold dissolved oxygen in solution, and it increases the rate of metabolism of fish. Valuable species of game fish, for example, trout, cannot survive in water with very low levels of dissolved oxygen. A major source of heat is the practice of discharging cooling water from power plants into rivers. The discharged water may be as much as 15 degrees Celsius or 27 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the naturally occurring water. So, ang consequences ng mainit na tubig, yung thermal pollution, pag na-elevate yung water temperatures natin, ang cause ito is mas marami yung madidisintegrate or mas maraming uh, dissolved oxygen yung mawawala sa tubig na yon. Since ang dissolved oxygen is important for our aquatic organisms, the more bigger the fish, for example, yung ating grouper, yung mga lapu-lapu, yung tuna, yung trouts, yung bass, yung mga malalaking isdang species natin, na mas maraming kailangan nilang concentration ng dissolved oxygen sa tubig. Kapag mainit yung tubig, posibleng mamatay sila or posibleng umalis sila dun sa sa ecosystem na yon. So, what will happen is madidisrupt yung processes doon, especially yung food cycle na meron. Kasi wala na wala na yung predator na nandoon. So, ma-upset yung balance ng aquatic ecosystem na meron. So, ito yung isa sa mga consequences ng elevation in temperature or yung ating thermal pollution sa tubig. So, next is yung ating groundwater pollution. So, yun nga, kanina sabi ko, yung this cost, wait lang, lobat na laptop ko siya. Wait. Okay. So, where was I? Groundwater pollution, underground water pollution. So, ito yung pag pollution sa ating underground water resources, no? Pagiging contaminated ng underground water resources natin due to agricultural industries, no? Yung excess use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers na nagpa-percolate sa ating underground water resources. So, ano pa ibang example nito? Since yung ating sewer system baga dito sa Philippines is wala tayong especially dito sa provinces, wala tayong exact na sewage systems unlike sa ibang bansa na meron silang sewer system, no? May tunnel sa ilalim ng lupa kung saan nagko-collect yung sewages from houses, from buildings, etc. Yung sa atin kasi is septic tanks ang gamit natin for sewage. So anong consequence nito? If malapit yung source of water, for example, yung tap water, yung inumin na tubig natin galing sa tap water, if malapit sa isang septic tank, yung yung tubig na yung source of water natin, so possible na ma-contaminate ng bacteria from the septic tank yung source of water natin. So kasi ang septic tank is home for pathogenic bacteria, no, and waterborne diseases. So kasi puros dumi, di ba? So yeah, ganon. So this is for underground water pollution. So next is we have microbiological pollution. Unlike most other on the list, microbiological pollution is naturally occurring form of water contamination. Microorganisms such as bacteria, protozoa, and viruses can infiltrate water supplies, causing diseases such as bilharzia, and cholera. Humans are most susceptible to this kinds of pollution in places where adequate water treatment systems are not yet in place. So, gaya ng sinasabi ko nga kanina, yung ating kung ang yung ating tubig kasi is meron na talaga siyang for example yung ating freshwater na sources, yung ating freshwater sources, meron na talaga siyang what do you call this? Meron na talaga siyang present doon na microorganisms but in trace amounts, no? So yung ginagawa is fini-filter out ito, like for example galing sa isang water treatment papunta sa isang water treatment facility para gumawa ng drinking water. So ginagawa is fini-filter out itong lahat ng pinapatay itong mga bacteria na present doon sa tubig para safer sa consumption. Kapag lumagpas kasi sa capacity ng isang ng tubig, so may measurement din kasi na ginagawa, it will be deemed unusable or unsafe for human use kapag sumobra siya sa threshold. Yeah, that is for microbiological pollution. So next is nutrient pollution. Since bakit considered kasi kailangan din, 'di ba? Kailangan ng aquatic organisms ng nutrients. Bakit considered siya as pollution din? So any excess in nutrients can upset the delicate imbalance of water-based ecosystems. Fertilizers contain a high concentration of nutrients, which, if they contaminate rivers, lakes, and coastal areas, can cause algal blooming that can block out sunlight and inhibit the growth of other organisms. So, ang consequence nito, kapag sobra or in excess yung nutrients na present, magkakaroon ng algal blooming and eutrophication kung saan hindi na makakapagkuha ng photosynthetic processes yung ibang photosynthetic organisms na present doon sa aquatic ecosystems like yung phytoplanktons, yung ating cyanobacteria, kasi na-block out na nitong overgrowth ng algae or ng aquatic plants, na-block out na nito yung sunlight na pwedeng pumasok dun sa surface water na kailangan ng photosynthetic organisms to produce their food. So, ma-upset yung balance. So, mawawala na yung ng pagkain yung primary consumers and so on and so forth. So, ito yung consequences. Kaya baga nagkakaroon tayo ng minsan, this causes suffocation in fishes, no? Nauubos yung dissolved oxygen din sa tubig because of the overgrowth of or sa alga blooming na nangyayari or eutrophication na nangyayari. Nauubos yung dissolved oxygen. Kaya nagkakaroon ng fish kills. Ultimately affecting the economy for fishermen, the economy for yung nangangailangan ng fish in order to survive. Yung primary pangkabuhayan nila is the fish. So, maapektuhan din sila. So, then tayo din in as kung paglulugtong-lugtungin natin yung lahat, maapektuhan din tayo. So, everything shakes out. We are the reason kung bakit tayo din naman yung nagsasuffer because ang pollution is mostly caused by human activities, upsetting the balance in our ecosystem. So yes. Next, we have oxygen depletion pollution. Another consequence of algal blooms is their consumption of oxygen supplies. This means that those species which depend upon oxygen to survive are killed off, while anaerobic ones thrive. Some anaerobic microorganisms are capable of producing ammonia, sulfides, and other harmful toxins, which can make the water even more dangerous to animals. So kung napapansin nyo, halos magkakadugtong-dugtong lang naman yung types of pollution na nasa tubig. So, one type of pollution may lead to other types. So, ito yung consequences ng water pollution. So, I have listed here also other types of water pollution. So, first we have yung suspended matters natin. Suspended matter or improperly discarded waste such as fragments of plastic, rubber, or other man-made materials can find themselves into water sources and persist for a long time because they are too robust to dissolve in water and too big to mix effectively with molecules. They simply float on its surface and prevent oxygen and sunlight from penetrating below. So, isa pang nangyayari dito sa suspended matter, for example, yung suspended plastics na basura sa isang aquatic ecosystem or sa ocean, sa sea. So, ano nangyayari is, yung partially dissolved plastic contains microplastics. So, hindi talaga siya nadi-dissolve totally. No, it will take several years, or even thousands of years for it to disintegrate in the atomic level. In the atomic level. On a molecular level, para mag-disintegrate yung plastic, kailangan niya is thousands of years. At least, siguro, I think it's 1,000 years bago mag-disintegrate yung tubig, yung plastic. So, ang nangyayari is, chip off yung parts of the plastic into microplastic. So, plastic pa rin siya pero maliliit. Microscopic na plastics na kung saan minsan nakakain na for example, nakakain na nasasama na sa diet ng isda. So, nandun na yun sa system ng isda. Eventually, kapag hinuli nung tao yung isda na merong microplastics sa katawan, eventually, yung microplastic na yun is matatransfer sa atin, no? Due to consumption ng fish. So, since ang plastic is hindi natin kayang i-digest yun. So, it will remain intact in our system. So, dadami, which will lead to toxicity, no? Kapag lumagpas sa threshold na kaya ng katawan ng tao, ng toxic levels, na kayang i-withhold ng tao, so, doon na, magkakaroon ng toxicity sa katawan, itong microplastic poisoning, tinatawag natin. So, yeah. We have here domestic sewages. The primary source of pathogens, this is causing microorganisms and putrescible organic substances because pathogens are excreted in feces. All sewage from cities and towns is likely to contain pathogens of some type, potentially presenting a direct threat to public health. So, This is most likely applicable kasi sa ibang bansa wherein they have this uh, sewage systems sa kanilang sa kanilang sa homes nila sa sa cities, for example, sa big cities, may sewage system sila kung saan nagko-collect lahat ng dumi from storm drain sa canals ng towns, yung galing sa kubeta ng bahay, lahat nagko-collect sa isang sewage system. No? And eventually leading out into, kung hindi naman papunta sa isang water waste treatment facility, diretso sa ocean. So, kung diretso sa ocean, so mako-contaminate yung lahat ng dumi na galing sa atin, mako-contaminate pa din yung yung tubig sa ocean. Since ang ating human shit contains trace nutrients din. Merong nitrogen because of ammonia, merong ammonia and urea, may nitrogen na present, may phosphates na present, may sulfides na present. So, it will lead to nutrient pollution sa tubig. So, kung hindi siya mapunta sa isang water waste treatment facility. In advanced countries, like in America and Japan, yung sewage systems nila, bago nila ibalik yung tubig or hindi na binabalik yung tubig sa ocean eh. Yung water waste nila from sewages are being treated into water waste treatment facilities wherein water molecules are being separated from the water waste. So yung waste na yun is tinatambak nila sa isang sa isang incinerator para sunugin. Then yung tubig, yung water molecules na dumaan sa treatment, yun na yung binabalik nila sa water sources nila for washing, for cleaning, not for drinking ha, because it is not safe anymore kasi nga treated water na siya. So kahit water molecules pa din siya, treated water na siya, hindi na siya safe for drinking, for consumption. Pero pwede siyang gamitin for bathing, for recreation, for washing, so for cleaning. Ito yung uses ng treated water. So yeah. Next we have sediments. Sediments, or in example, silt resulting from soil erosion can be carried into water bodies by surface runoff. Suspended sediments interfere with the penetration of sunlight and upsets the ecological balance of body of water. Also, it can disrupt a reproductive cycle of fish and other forms of life when it settles out of suspension into us, and it can smother bottom dwelling organisms. So, itong silts or yung kung nakikita nyo sa isang ano bagay yung sa maputik tapos tinambakan ng tubig, 'di ba yung parang brownish yung color niya. Yung color niya is kasi dahil sa suspended na silt or yung dumi-dumi, yung dirt na mimix dun sa sa tubig. So, since isa sa properties ng tubig baga is yung turbidity or yung clearness ng tubig, so mas maraming silt, mas magiging turbid yung 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 tubig. So, hindi siya clear. Ang resulta nito is sunlight cannot penetrate into a turbid water. So, if sunlight cannot penetrate, photosynthesis cannot proceed. So, hindi makakapag-create ng food yung ating photosynthetic organisms na present sa isang turbid na water. So, another consequence of this is kapag nagsettle na yung silt or yung dumi, yung dirt particles nagsettle from the surface papunta sa bottom ng ng aquatic ecosystem. So yung mga dumi-dumi na yun is it can smother out, kumbaga ma-asphyxiate yung hindi makakahinga yung mga organisms na nanirahan sa ilalim ng tubig, like yung ating flounder, yung sunfish, yung rays, yung stingrays, ano pa ba? Yung bottom dwelling organisms, yung sea slugs, yung coral, especially yung corals. So ma ma-asphyxiate sila or hindi sila makakahinga because yun nga, may presence ng dumi. Na-smother out sila ng 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 dirt particles kasi pumapasok sa gills system, sa breathing system nila. So yung dumi, pumapasok sa breathing system. Yun yung nakakabara sa breathing apparatus nila na meron para mag-filter ng dissolved oxygen sa tubig. So yeah. So ano pa nga yung lista ko dito? So, meron pang last is yung ating yung ating petroleum pollution. So, petroleum pollutions happen when oil products spill sa tubig, or yung tinatapon, or intentionally and unintentionally tinatapon sa bodies of water, yung oils, yung petroleum products, no? Since hindi same principle ng surface, yung suspended matter, same principle din. Since ang oil does not mix with water, so water is more dense than oil, so nasa ibabaw siya. So it will lead to na hindi magkaroon ng photosynthetic processes na present doon sa isang oil spill na part, kasi hindi pumapasok yung sunlight. Another one is pwedeng mamatay or ma-stuck doon yung pwedeng ma-stuck doon yung mga birds, yung aquatic birds natin, like seagulls, pelicans, no? Yung kumakawa ng isda from diving into the sea. So, pwedeng ma-stuck doon. Tapos, hindi din makakaingay yung fishes na present, or any aquatic organisms na present doon sa isang pinangyarihan ng isang oil spill. So, yeah. That is for petroleum pollution. So, what are the different effects of water pollution? So, I have actually sinabi ko na kanina, no, yung effect ng water pollution, but let's discuss this one by one. First is the death of aquatic animals, or pagkawala ng aquatic animals na present dun sa aquatic ecosystem. So, the main problem caused by water pollution that it kills organisms that depend on these water bodies. Dead fish, crabs, birds, and seagulls, dolphins, and many other animals often wind up on beaches killed by pollutants in their habitat. So, one leading cause of this is yung ating plastic pollution na present, yung mga basura natin, especially plastic, na i-incorporate na ng animals. No? We have seen this in so many documentary films. No? Mamaya isasend ko yung video. Actually, dapat kahapon kasi gumana to eh. Kahapon gumana yung video. Hindi siya. Anyway, isasend ko pa rin yung link ng video kanina. So, makikita natin doon is yung mga basura nandun sa video, made 2017. So, that was 3 years ago. October 6, 2017. Made by a documentary report by Al Jazeera, Philippines. So, yun, pinapakita yung tambak ng basura na present doon sa Manila Bay. Manila Bay pa lang yun. Wala pa yung basura galing sa ibang sources, or like sa Pasig River, or in case dito sa atin yung mga basura natin na tinatapon sa rivers. So every trash that we throw into our rivers will eventually end up sa ating oceans, no? So anong mangyayari ito? So ito yung microplastic na nakakain ng isda. Minsan nga hindi yung microplastic, minsan nga plastics na nakakain na nung fishes, nung birds, na kapag ino-autopsy ng for example ng DNR, makikita doon sa stomach nung isda or ng birds is puno ng plastic kasi kinakain na ng isda or ng birds. Or another example is yung plastic is pwedeng ma-trap yung growth, kumbaga it will pwede masaktan yung hayop kapag na-trap siya dun sa plastic. For example, sa isang fishing net, no? Maliit pa siya na-trap dun, then lalaki siya. So, what will happen? Mag-force out yung ibang parts dun. Kumbaga, magkakaroon siya ng body modification kasi nasa-trap yung ibang body parts niya for growth dun. So, alam niyo na effects nitong uh, effect ng water pollution for the death of aquatic animals. Next is disruption of food chains and other processes. Pollution disrupts the natural food chain as well. Pollutants such as lead and cadmium are eaten by tiny animals. Later, these animals are consumed by fish and shellfish, and the food chain continues to be disrupted at all higher levels. So, for example, yun nga, we have conducted, sana, ito yung maging thesis namin before, yung organomercury na concentration organomercury concentrations sa tilapia, sa fish ponds, malapit sa small scale mining, no? So, ito yung pag sinabing organomercury, ito na yung mercury compounds na sumasama na sa organic molecules na embedded na sa tissues ng tilapia, embedded sa tissues ng fish. Eventually, kapag hinuli yon for consumption ng humans, ano mangyayari? So, maka-transfer sa atin yung 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 for example, dun sa example ko, yung organomercury, mata-transfer sa katawan ng tao. So, I think yung capacity lang natin is 0.06 micrograms ng 0.06 micrograms ng organomercury ang kaya lang i-contain ng katawan. Sumobra dyan, it will be toxic na sa katawan ng tao. So, ano magiging resulta? So, organ failure, and eventually it will lead to death. So, we reap what we sow. Next is diseases. Eventually, humans are affected by these processes as well. People can get diseases such as hepatitis by eating seafood that has been poisoned. In many poor nations, there is always outbreak of cholera and diseases as a result of poor drinking water treatment from contaminated waters. So, simpleng kumbaga yung sa isang pagplano ng bahay. Kaya baga, we have a law or we have guidelines in constructing where we should put our septic tanks, where we should locate our water sources, no? So there is a certain distance na kailangan na i-follow. Ilan nga yun? Ilan yung distance from the septic tank sa source of water? Nakalimutan ko. 10 meters ba yun? Or less. Basta, may certain distance na kailangan i-put up. Kung magpo-put up ng isang bahay, yung septic tank dapat medyo malayo yung distansya dun sa source of water. This is to avoid the contamination of water source. Since human shit contains pathogenic bacteria kapag nag-accumulate. So, kawawa naman if ma-contaminate. So, it would okay. So, next consequence of water pollution is yung destruction of ecosystems. Ecosystems can be severely changed or destroyed by water pollution. Many areas are now being affected by careless human pollution, and this pollution is coming back to hurt humans in many ways. So, example of this is yung chemicals from our basura na nagle-leak papunta sa ating coral beds. No, ano nangyayari? This causes yung basura from coral beds causes coral bleaching or yung pagkamatay ng corals. So, very important ang coral sa atin because this is the nursery for or this is the habitat for species of fishes. Pag namatay yung corals natin, so what will happen? So, wala nang maninirahan na fish doon. Diversity there will be dead. The ecosystem will be dead also. So, magiging dead ecosystem na yun. So, wala na maninirahan doon na isda para manganak or wala na maninirahan, wala na magsusurvive doon kasi wala nang matitirahan na patay na yung corals doon. So, yeah, this is an example of water pollution in our oceans. So, what our basura.
Sir, yes po.
Yes po.
About sa pollution ng water,
Po.
yung dolomite talaga, sir, ano ba ang effect talaga ng dolomite sand? Ano ba talaga yung effect niya? Kasi nasa galing ka sa mountain and then it's a big sand.
Mm.
And then, ano po nga eh, naging debate pa po gaya na na it affects, maraming mapopoison sa dolomite. Ano ba sir ang ano ba ang use ng dolomite? Tapos bakit
Yung
pa siya, sir, bakit pa siya delikado sa ocean or sa sea, sa tubig, sa water pollution, ganyan po.
actually I was caught off guard sa question mo. Means wait lang. Wait lang. Uh, base sa
Sorry sir, medyo ano talaga ako sir, medyo
okay lang
ano ako
actually.
sa dolomite.
Okay lang siya kasi actually ako is I know that dolomite is not actually prescribed na for artificial. So yung ginagawa ng ating government sa Manila Bay, hindi talaga siya kasi according to many studies kasi uh, concentration of powdered dolomite kapag nag-mix na siya sa tubig. So since hindi siya naturally occurring doon sa sa ecosystem doon. Kasi galing, 'di ba? Galing siya sa bundok, minimina siya sa bundok. Since hindi siya natural occurring doon, even though it has the same properties as limestone or yung ating white sand, hindi naman siya natural occurring. So, anong magiging cost? It will be a pollution, a pollutant in the ecosystem, smothering out uh, yung fishes. Walang actually kasi maraming concentration ba yung tinatamak doon, di ba? So, hindi siya susceptible for growth ng mga isda. Maganda lang siya tingnan, pero walang titirang isda doon. Kasi, pollutant nga siya eh. Hindi siya natural recording doon. Linagay lang siya doon. So, ito yung alam ko ha. Ito yung alam ko kasi nagbasa din naman ako tungkol dito. Pero itong dolomite kasi is ginagamit din sa mga artificial na sa tangke, sa reefs. But I think this is yung dolomite na ginagamit nila is hindi yung powdered. Yung dolomite na ginagamit sa mga for example sa isang fish tank, yung parang maliliit na bato, yung processed na din siya pero hindi siya yung powderized like unlike yung fine sand. So parang ganun yung nasagot ko yung tanong mo, Vince.
Yes sir, opo.
Okay, sige. So, that is a good example of sediment pollution. Pala, sediment pollution. Uh, Thank you for that. So, nakalimutan ko i-include yung issue tungkol dyan. So, yeah. Example din ng sediment pollution sa atin. So, very good. Good job. So, in destruction of ecosystem. And yung na-feel talaga natin na effect nito is yung effect ng water pollution sa ating economy. So, since contaminated water cannot anymore be suitable for living ng fishes, any aquatic organisms present, maapektuhan yung ating economy. So, first firstly, yung pag-construct yung pag-treat ng tubig na contaminated is mahal yung processes, mahal ng pagpalagay ng ng water treatment facility plants. No? It will cost billions of peso billions of peso to put up a standard. Hindi substandard dapat. Dapat standard. No? Saan to manggagaling? Syempre sa gobyerno, sa tax sa atin. We the tax paying you soon after na kayo soon is magiging taxpayer na din. So, manggagaling sa inyo yung perang igagastos para sa mga water facility plants. Another is yung impact nito sa economy. Like sa fishing industry. Since wala nang mahuhuling isda, maubos na yung mahuhuling isda, umaalis na, lumilipat na sila ng ibang lugar. So medyo mas mahal yung demand or mas mahal yung magiging presyo ng isda because konti yung supply. So sa rule of supply, tama ba? Napag-aralan niyo nata to sa business, yung rule of supply and demand. Kapag konti yung supply, mas mahal yung yung presyo. Tama ba? Correct me if I'm wrong, ha? Basta ganun, maapektuhan yung economy natin.
Yes po, sir. Correct.
Okay, thank you. So yun, ito yung na-feel natin talaga. Aside from the physical effects of or the health effects of pollution sa atin, ito din yung na-feel ng ating mga bulsa. So yeah. So I have listed here actually possible solutions and prevention methods for for water pollution in order to mitigate this. No? First is, meron na baga tayo mga existing laws na kailangan sundin. For example, sa isang uh, in a barangay setting, no, meron tayong specific laws na in order to protect the environment. Kailangan pagtapon ng basura, no, sa paghuhukay ng water source, ng underground water source, no, where there are certain guidelines, rules and regulations that is set by our government, especially to protect the environment from human activities. So, second one, sa agriculture industries, it is much more it is being advised to use natural farming methods, no, or the use of organic fertilizers, organic pesticides and herbicides na ginagamit sa pagtatanim. Though mas mahal talaga siya, mas matrabaho siya compared sa paggamit ng ng chemicals, no? Chemically treated yung ating mga kinakain na which are chemically treated are mass produced kasi nga mas kailangan ng madaming demand, yung demand niya is marami. So, mas maraming yield yung makukuha when produce are coming from artificial fertilizers, no? So mas marami siya. Mas easier yung trabaho compared sa isang organic farm na mas matrabaho siya pero all natural. Mas makita, ewan ko kasi sa pagkakaalam ko is talagang sa quality wise ng organic produce is mas masustansya siya kasi walang purong natural, walang halong chemical. Purong natural, walang halong chemical. So, sa taste-wise naman, parehas din, masarap talaga. Kasi nakalasa na ako ng pagkain from organic farm. Lahat talaga, all natural. Mas malasa siya compared sa for example, sa pork na pinakain sa amin. Mas malasa siya compared and mas masustansya compared sa pork na pinalaki sa feeds. So, nutrient-wise, may benefit din naman yung organic produce natin. Pero sa ngayon kasi is mahal talaga. Yung compared sa ibang produce natin, yung organic produce is mas mahal. Kasi nga, wala naman yung legislation. Anyway, yun nga. Yung sinasabi ko, mas laborious yung process ng organic farming compared sa farming na yung nakikita natin yung ginagawa na tinalagyan ng fertilizer. So, pwede naman gumamit nun, but in yung saktong-saktong amount lang, no? Yung hindi makakapag-destroy din ng ecosystem. So, yeah. Next, we have proper disposal of chemicals. So, saan to applicable sa ating mga plants, sa ating industrial sectors, no? Yung trace chemicals na kailangan or yung discarded chemicals na hindi na kailangan, is kailangan meron silang treatment na ginagawa before siya i-dispose. No? Hindi lang i-dispose basta-basta lang sa bodies of water, no? So even though some other companies are not doing this kasi first and foremost sayang sa pera. So, kung i-treat nila yon, sayang sa pera. Yun yung unang inisip ng ibang companies kasi because sabi ko nga kanina, water waste treatment facilities costs a lot of money. Though environmentally safe siya talaga na ibalik na sa ecosystem yung tubig galing sa water waste. So, but it costs a lot of money. So, mahihirapan yung kumpanya, babawiin yung, yun yung unang-unang iniisip ng ibang companies. Kaya hindi sila nag-follow sa ganito. So, bahala na sa kanila yung DENR. Next is the control of sediment erosion. No? Applicable to sa ating mga mining industries na sa ating logging industry. No? Na kapag meron dapat silang guidelines, may sinaset silang, may sinusunod silang guidelines na in order to prevent further soil erosion, minsan may ginagawa silang mga devices like traps para hindi dire-diretsyong or hindi magkaroon ng further soil erosion na mangyari. Gumagawa sila ng mga traps kung saan kinakatch or yung mga catch basins na sinasabi natin. Yung catch basins, these are devices that they are using in order to prevent further soil erosion. Next is the control of stormwater runoff. So, sinama ko na to even though hindi to sa atin applicable. Sa yung stormwater runoff kasi minsan sa ibang bansa is kasama na siya sa sewage systems. Yung storm drain sa galing sa storm drains, canals ng cities, ng streets. So, yung stormwater runoff, yung wait lang. Nandito yung definition. May definition pala ako ito. So, stormwater runoff is created when water from rainfall and snow flow, sana all may snow, overground are not absorbed. As the stormwater runoff flows over impervious surfaces, it collects debris, sediments, chemicals, and other pollutants, which can have negative effects on the quality of water if the runoff is left untreated. Stormwater runoff can be controlled by applying management practices, such as washing automobiles at car wash instead of streets, removing impervious surfaces such as cement around homes, etc. So, sinasabi dito sa yung stormwater before kailangan i-treat din siya before uh, being returned into the aquatic ecosystem or into bodies of water. Kailangan i-treat muna kasi hindi lang naman yung tubig from the rain ang nako-collect nito kasi kasama na yung dumi sa streets, yung chemicals from automobiles, yung oils from sa mga sasakyan. So, and other stuff na naka-carry out nung storm water papunta sa mga drainage. So, yeah. On a personal level naman, so, marami yung pwede nating ikatulong. We as a responsible human being living under the same earth. So, we have the capacity to help also prevent further water pollution in our own simple ways. First is turning off taps after use. So, kung hindi naman ginagamit yung tubig after mo maghugas, kung hindi naman gagamitin or pag naghuhugas ka, konting tubig lang ang kailangan mo. So, magtipid sa tubig na kailangan na gagamitin. So, another example of this is yung pagtitip yung gray water na usage, no? Yung pinaghugasan, pwede natin siyang gamitin as pang pangdagnas sa Tagalog. Pangbuhos sa kubeta or panglinis ng daan. So, instead of using clean water, ito na lang yung gagamitin. Yung gray water na lang yung gagamitin natin. So, this is one example of a person. Next is proper disposal of paints, chemicals, cleaning solvents, nail polish, oils, etc. Since dito kasi tayo, okay lang magtapon ng oil sa septic tanks, okay lang magtapon ng kung ano pang ibang liquid solutions natin. Kasi we are using septic tanks as our sewage system. But if yung sewage system nyo, yung drainage nyo is papunta sa bodies of water, so you should not throw, especially cooking oil, yung used oil will not be dissolved in our in bodies of water. So, anong gagawin dapat dito? Kailangan meron tayong proper disposal nito. Like, gagawa tayo ng compost, doon natin ilalagay lahat yung ating liquid waste na pwedeng maka-affect sa ecosystem or oh yeah, pwede makaaffect sa ecosystem. So next is decrease water-resistant surfaces such as cement around homes to reduce surface runoff. So sa storm drainage to. Next one, monitor and identify pollutants in nearby water resources and help in cleanup programs. So if there is any opportunity na magkaroon ng cleanup drives sa inyong barangay, sa ating barangay, we should join. We should join because we are aware of what is happening in baka mag-time na. Anong oras na ba? Hindi pa naman. Since we are aware what kung ano yung effects ng water pollution sa atin. So, if there is any opportunity that cleanup drives will be na mayroong cleanup programs ng SK sa inyo or ng barangay, we should join as a member of a responsible member of planet Earth. So, in our own little ways, we can help mitigate water pollution. Next is, observe proper waste disposal. So, sa bahay nyo ba, meron ba kayong waste disposal management system ginagawa? Sinasegregate nyo ba yung nabubulok sa hindi nabubulok? Tinatapon nyo ba yung liquid waste nyo sa drain or kung saan-saan lang? So, we should dispose of our waste properly. Yung mga nabubulok sa nabubulok, yung hindi nabubulok sa ilagay sa isang sa isang plastic bag, yung pwede pang i-recycle ilagay sa isang lalagyan din, no, para makuha ng mga junk boys para mapagamitan pa. Yung ating degradable waste pwede nating ilagay sa compost, no? After some time, pwede na yung gamitin natin as fertilizer sa ating garden. So next is reduce use of pesticides, fertilizers, and other chemicals to maintain your garden. So if yung mga mama nyo or yung papa nyo is plantitas and plantitos, or kayo, plantitas and plantitos, so eto na yung we are being advised, no, to be a responsible green thumb person or isang responsible agriculturist na alam natin yung deadly effects ng excessive use of pesticides sa halaman, hindi lang sa halaman kundi pati sa soil, pati sa tubig. So we can search for other, what do you call this, other alternatives, no? Like sa paggamit ng fertilizer, pwede na tayong gumamit ng compost, pwede tayong gumamit pwede tayong gumamit ng compost as fertilizer. Natural na siya. Sa pesticides naman, pwede gumamit ng citronella or something. Sa citronella extract, natural din. So, maraming alternatives sa pagtatanim. So yeah, dito ko na muna i-end yung ating